Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we are going to be talking about even more layoffs happening at the UFL. If you watched a video about, I think 3-4 weeks ago, I talked about the fact there was a lot of personnel that ended up getting fired from ticketing, marketing, sales departments, and well, as James Larson described it, we have had a second Black Friday, as this has just came out. When this video is posted, probably like 2 hours before this video gets posted, maybe 3 hours. And so we're going to get right on over to it with the tweet that came out. Per league sources, another Black Friday has hit the UFL this week. Dozens upon dozens of full-timers across marketing teams, PR, ticketing sales, etc. have all been let go. The UFL is cleaning house, and right now it looks to be mostly cost-cutting measures. Again, that is a quote tweet of his original tweet from June 23rd, which about over a dozen people have been fired. Now, upon this, dozens upon dozens, from what I've seen, it's basically roughly 2 to 3 dozen people overall. More like 3 dozen people have been fired overall across both these two firings. Not great. And it's one of those things where a lot of people are going to take this in their own way and own spin. We're already seeing that. Hell, even Mike Mitchell is not saying the same things that Larson is in regards to why this is happening. And you have a lot of other people saying things. So I'll give my thoughts as well. But it's important to note that this is not like the last one, where the last one was very justified. This one wasn't. But we got to start by looking at the first one. So the first group of layoffs was June 23rd. Now, in that, there were a few people that got fired that nobody was even remotely upset about. Some of the higher-ups in Arlington, Birmingham, and Houston all being fired. Arlington, I wouldn't fully agree with that one, but Houston, I mean, duh. Birmingham, not shocking either. And then while Memphis, at that moment, didn't have anybody fired, we all collectively viewed it as the league saying that, hey, they just think Memphis is a bad market. It's not their fault. But now, obviously, with more people being fired, that's different. Now, directors of ticket sales got fired, and a couple were Michigan and Arlington, which were definitely a bit questionable, but ticket sales are not the same thing as actual marketing, so it is what it is. And again, this is when over a dozen full-time workers got let go, and that's another important thing, is full-time. I'll talk about that more in the next part, because the ability to be a full-time worker is something the UFL really isn't having, which is mainly to, cost cut. So again, you had over a dozen people be fired. You had some of these really higher-ups get fired. But now it has happened again, even worse, because of the fact that you have let go of actual key personnel. Jeremiah Hergott is one of the, really, of all these people, is arguably the one that you would imagine was the most unfireable, considering that he was really the biggest deal that Michigan actually improved in attendance. Remember, they were they were the only team to actually improve on attendance year 1 to year 2. And it was by a significant margin. Every other team, St. Louis, Houston, Arlington, D.C., every other team went down in attendance. This is the only one that went up. Now, as I said before, I think San Antonio was a bit of a caveat. They went down in attendance because the team was just absolutely terrible. If the team was even somewhat competent, I genuinely believe they would have had really solid attendance. But Michigan was the only team that actually went up in attendance. You let go of the guy that was most responsible for that. So you also let go, again, another couple of dozen people. It sounds like it's probably another dozen plus people got let go. Now, the first time around, right, is what Lars said. This was a reply to someone else's tweet. The first time around, it made sense to try and retool certain underperforming markets. This latest wave is rough for the league. I'm not a fan. They just let go of a bunch of employees who did really good work for them. For example, Jeremiah Hergott getting canned in Michigan is crazy. He was a huge part of the attendance surge we saw in the market. Now, from what it sounds like, and I haven't asked about anything, but it sounds like this is pretty much like everybody in marketing got fired, meaning that I wouldn't be shocked if a bunch of people from St. Louis got let go. Which, again, even though their attendance went down, it's still the St. Louis market. That's insane. DC, same thing. Now, Greg Park said, ridiculous why anyone would want to work in one of these positions for the UFL when good work isn't rewarded is beyond me. If you have to do something like this every offseason, notice they're not cost-cutting executive positions, the business being poorly run. And this leads to the Mike Mitchell tweet where he said, UFL ownership management is just doing their usual. We don't pay anyone during the offseason a bit. Players, coaches, now majority personnel getting off the books. This is assuredly going to be some retooling, but it's cost-cutting. Now, Larson has said that is just not fully true. He has basically vehemently denied what Mitchell is saying this is nowhere near like it was last year. Now, honestly, it feels somewhat in the middle. It feels like, to me, looking everything, reading all the context clues, right? If you're in, third grade, you do context clues? Read all the context clues. It really feels like the UFL is trying to basically make everybody that is not an executive a seasonal employee. It's important to remember, coaches are not full-time coaches. In my video yesterday, the reason I did not say it was a full dick move by Shannon Harris to leave the Defenders, unless it was kind of, and that kind of was because Fred gave him the job, and then he also made it sound like he was going to come back, and it's not official yet, so don't know for sure. But the main reason that you cannot view it as a total dick move is because going to TSU, he is becoming a full-time coach. He is not a seasonal employee. The UFL coaches are seasonal. When you go to college, go to the NFL, you're a full-time person. And now it feels like that they're trying to do that to marketing as well, making it seasonal to where you end up not having to spend as much money on these people. And it's like, but this isn't coaching. Like, especially your marketing, like you need to market the league again. The entire thing, because again, hindsight's 2020, but the whole reason we all said that, or at least I said keeping 8 teams was a good idea for 2025, was so you could actually market for the 2025 season since you didn't have time in 2024. Michigan did it. That was basically it. Every other market basically didn't market whatsoever aside from St. Louis and Michigan. They were the only two that really did anything. Everyone else did essentially nothing. People can blame whatever they want. The bottom line is Michigan and St. Louis were able to do things with like the same budgets, or St. Louis probably a little bit more than everyone else. And so now it's like you're going to get rid of more marketing people, more people like that, and it's like, why? You're getting rid of people who are going to get, butts in seats, and it's like, the first wave, again, made sense. You're letting go of people who did a bad job. Makes sense. But I'm pretty sure today is also the day that there's like a lot of upgrades on season ticket stuff coming out. So coincidentally, the day that, ticket stuff is becoming more available is when you let go of everybody. And again, I know it's Friday, blah, blah, let go, all that. It's just the timing is really, coincidental there. And so it just ends up being a pretty big dick move by the league. And as Parks pointed out, the executives are not getting let go or not getting cost cut or anything. Basically, if you're a Russ Brandon or a Moose or a true executive, you're fine. If you're everyone else, you're going to cut costs. Now, you could say it makes sense to do that. You want to save as much money as possible. Again, the league, because of how it is run and how it works, means that these companies are not really paying for broadcasting rights because they own the league. And so, like for Fox, they're not paying for broadcast rights when they put a game on, Fox TV. And so that's a big deal because instead of having to pay for somebody else, you're just putting your product, meaning that all the profit you get from ad revenue is profit that goes against the league. And so in that sense, yeah, it makes sense, but then you realize the fact that this is going to turn off a lot of other potential, marketing people. Again, we saw a person on Memphis Showboats end up leaving for a Grizzlies job, and that's a huge thing, but I wouldn't be shocked to see more and more of that kind of thing. If you're like Hergot, you have a good track record now. You helped revitalize it, not revitalize, but heavily improve a market. Have that in your credentials. Would you rather A, wait a few months and then get rehired by the league, or go take a job somewhere else and get to be a full-time employee? That's part of the reason Shannon left. It's definitely not just because of he was getting an OC and QB coach job. It's partially because he was going to be a full-time coach, right? If you get that full-time thing, that's a huge deal. It's like the whole insurance thing during the whole CBA negotiations, getting that extra couple of months of actual paid insurance and then getting the, the plan that you can buy and all that. That was a big deal because you got more of a near full-time. Again, as I talked about, the insurance was not a full year-round insurance thing. People tried to act like it was. It wasn't, but it still was like a couple-month improvement. That's a big deal. But the coaches and now the marketing people, they're still just now seasonal. And so the marketing now being seasonal as well is, we'll see how it works out because, again, everybody's expecting ticket prices to go up, which will be a dick move by the league, but we all know it's probably going to happen, and then they're going to wonder why people aren't showing up to the games, and it's going to be hilarious and sad when that does happen, because, if you're going to increase ticket prices, but then do less marketing, I don't know how you think you're going to get better attendance. The bottom line is it's true. Attendance is not going to kill the league in a sense of pure financial stability. But what it is going to do is going to affect the TV ratings because people are going to turn on a game, see that there's less than 3,000 people in attendance, and then turn the game off. And then when your TV ratings get hit, that's what can kill the league, which will then mean that attendance didn't directly but indirectly help kill the league. Again, there's issues with Memphis. Part of the reason why Memphis' TV ratings were so awful this year, if you were an average Joe putting on a Memphis game, they never had good attendance this year. You put on a game, it's just an empty stadium. Houston, it was an empty stadium, right? The only reason Houston's TV ratings were even somewhat competent were because it was Houston. It's a massive media market, and they had a bunch of people from Houston watching. But overall, I think that'll do it. This has been Zom Fox. Let me know down below your thoughts are on this whole situation. It's definitely really sad that this is what, we ended up seeing, that the past couple of days have been just negative news. Hopefully it gets better. I do have a fantasy football league for the NFL getting going. It has like 6 spots remaining. You can go to the community post tab on my channel, and there'll be a couple links there to join that one. Think about subscribing to the channel if you ended up enjoying this video and want to be notified when I upload videos. Hit the bell. I plan to still continue uploading at least 2 videos a week during the off season. I have like 4 videos scheduled for the next couple of weeks. Another AF to UFL one, a couple other videos that are going to be pretty cool, so make sure you're on the lookout for those. And as always, guys, have a great night.